We're delighted to welcome Francesco Allegrini and Sarah Knowles, Master of Wine, for this discussion this evening. So, Sarah, you were just talking about the amazing vineyards that
Yes.
the family has.
And beautiful properties. So to have such an established reputation within the region, and to still have be at the forefront of perhaps creating some of the most modern wines, would you say, or classic modern wines from the region?
Yes. In the middle, I like to say. Yeah.
Yes. But a pioneer, I think, in many different ways of how you make the wines, which has, of course, always kept your quality incredibly high. So I'm very excited to see the presentation that you've prepared for us tonight, and to then talk about the specific wines. But as I was saying to the guys in the chat and watching this along with us, do tell us what you're drinking or what you're eating, or if it's working, or we like to know what everyone's thinking. And of course, you can ask us questions through the chat or through the Q&A, and we'll do our best to cover those as we go.
Yeah, I'm very interested. I'd love to be around at Colin's house at the moment, because he's drinking not only the Valpolicella Classico and the Palazzo della Torre, but also the 150th anniversary Amarone. And other people are too. David up in Ayrshire is doing the same. So everybody's enjoying a glass of wine. I have to say, so are we.
Wow, good. Happy hour with the presentation.
Absolutely.
That's the one.
Okay, so Francesco, over to you.
So thank you for being here tonight, and of course to invite me to this beautiful presentation. And I'm Francesco Allegrini, and I represent the 7th generation of Allegrini family. As you know, in December, a lot of changes happened. So me and my 2 brothers, Giovanni and Matteo, took over the shares of Marilisa in the Allegrini and Corteggiara. So now I am the CEO of the company. So the story, do you have the slide?
Yeah, I'll put the slides up. I'll share. I'll do a little bit of slide
because
share.
I apologize, I have some problem with my PC.
That's okay. Here we go. Slide sharing and share. There we go.
Yeah. So our story, the second one.
Yeah.
Okay, go on. Yes.
Yeah, I will. There we are.
Yeah, thank you. So our story goes back to the 18th century. And so everything started with Giovanni Allegrini, my grandfather, and called it the barrel spider, as you see in the photo. And yeah, and after he passed away, his children, Walter, the responsible to viticulture, Franco, my grandfather, the wine maker, and Marilisa, the head of the sale, led the company. So now the company today is formed by me, by my 2 brothers, Giovanni and Matteo, and my cousin Silvia. So now we have more than 150 hectares of vineyards in the Valpolicella, Classica area, and enlarged Valpolicella, and also in Lugana, that we bought a land in 2018. And actually now our main value are living in improving our territory, enological innovation and quality consistency, and biodiversity and sustainability. So actually, I would like to start to describe our land. So actually, Allegrini is located in the northeast of Italy, in the region of Veneto, in the heart of the Valpolicella Classica area. As you know, the Valpolicella is divided in 2 areas. So the Classica, the most historical, and enlarged Valpolicella since 1968. The Valpolicella Classical area is composed by 5 villages: Fumane, where we are, Sant'Ambrogio di Valpolicella, Marano, San Pietro in Cariano, and Negrar di Valpolicella. Also in the picture, you may see the Lugana land. As I told you, we bought a plot in 2018, and now we have almost 40 hectares of vineyards. And the next slide. Okay. Here we have our vineyards, of course. All our vineyards are located high up in the hills. That is something unusual for the Valpolicella area, especially if we come back to the 80s, when my grandfather, Giovanni, bought the land of La Poia. So now, for example, with our vineyards of Villa Cavarena, we reach 500 meters above sea level. That is something unusual, but now it's very important, especially for the climate change and increasing temperature. So we have a perfect temperature compared to the flat area in order to produce better and quality wines.
I think I was saying earlier how beautiful these sites are, but La Grolla, just in the bottom left-hand corner, that's the site that Sebastian really thinks of as one of the most beautiful and spectacular vineyards
actually,
he's ever seen.
We bought La Grolla was 1979.
Yeah.
And as I told you, it was something unusual because the viticulture in Valpolicella was based on the flat area. So we started to going up in the hills. With La Grolla, we reached 380 meters above sea level. And also we have the presence of the Garda Lake that with his sub-Mediterranean climate is perfect, create a perfect condition to produce the best. And also in the east part, we have our Monti Lessini that leave the space dry and fresh. So it's very in a very perfect geographical position to produce the best.
Yes. No, how fortunate it was that you had the foresight to purchase vineyards at altitude.
Yeah. So the last in the second picture we have also Marezzane, that is our last acquisition, and is in the valley between Fumane and Marano di Valpolicella, and with Marezzane we reach 400 meters above sea level. So all of our vineyards are located, as I told you, in the hills, and it is very important for in this season, and cause the climate change, of course.
Absolutely.
Okay. Then we have the pyramids of the production in the Valpolicella region. The slide. Okay, the next slide.
Slide's coming.
No problem. So at the base, we have our Valpolicella. I saw that someone is drinking the Valpolicella now.
Yeah.
Then we have Valpolicella Superiore that has to be aged 1 year more than the Valpolicella Classico, of course. In the middle, we have our single vineyards, so La Grolla and La Poia, as we saw in the picture before. And at the top, we have Amarone and Recioto. So this is the lineup of the wines in the Valpolicella region. Okay. Of course, the iconic wine in Valpolicella is Amarone. And for the production of Amarone, we have to dry all the grapes. So actually in the past, the appassimento process was a very rustic process because we use wooden racks, and usually the grapes was positioned on the second floor of the house in order to reach a better ventilation. But the wooden racks caused a lot of problems like molds and bacteria. And so in 1998, my father and Roberto Ferrarini, one of the most important enologists in the Italian world, created Terre di Fumane. Terra di Fumane now is the most innovative drying facility center that you may find in the Valpolicella region. So actually now we harvest the grapes and we put directly the grapes into plastic box that are completely sterile before and after the harvest. So in this way, we avoid the problems of mold and bacteria. And we bring the plastic box into this dry facility center, and the grapes are controlled 407 with huge fan, so artificial ventilation. And we are allowed also to dehumidify the space when the temperature is warm. So with the system, we reach the end of the appassimento process with healthy grapes, because you have to imagine that in the past, we eliminate more than 30% of the grapes. So this is a very important innovation in terms of appassimento.
This development feels like Allegrini were really at the forefront of creating a very specific place in which to dry your grapes and to do it in a very clean way.
Yes, we introduced it, as I told you, in 1998. This is Terra di Fumane #1, because now we bought a second space close to the first one. And of course, this project is not dedicated only to the Allegrini family, but we expanded the project also to other wineries around Fumane.
Yeah.
So now 12 wineries use Terra di Fumane.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, as you see in the photo, we use huge fans in order to produce artificial ventilation to leave the grapes dry, of course, and fresh. And of course, the grapes remains at the drying facility center for about 100 days. We are allowed to vinify the grapes after the 1st of December of each year. And during these days, okay, after 100 days, the grapes lose more than 40% of the water. As you see in the slide, in the next slide, for the production of our Amarone, we use Corvina, Corvinone, and Rondinella, that are the obligatory grapes for the production of the Amarone. And also we use a little bit of Oseleta. In the past, we used to use Molinara, but now we prefer Oseleta because it's better in terms of structure and color, because give to the wine a lot of structure in terms of tannins. So yes, this is the grapes after the appassimento process lose more or less 45% of water.
They're great photos to see the comparison before and after.
Yeah.
But also to see how clean the after shots are. I think, you know, to have gone dry in such a sterile place.
Yes, of course, in the past it was not like this. No. A lot of problem. Yeah, as I told you, we had molds, bacteria. So each year we eliminated almost the 30% of our harvest.
Yeah.
So
what a great investment.
Yes. And
it's nice that you were also looking after all your neighbors as well, because obviously they have the same clean grapes too if they're using the Terra di Fumane.
Yes, it's a project, a social project as well, and actually we introduce also a course in the new University of Verona, and each year we try to create a sort of innovation in terms of appassimento. So a lot of students are studying new way to dry the grapes.
Of
So
course,
probably in the future we will see what's happened.
yeah, of course. I'm just going to go back a couple of slides, because that gentleman in the picture there is maybe the guy who started this all off, right?
Yes, was my father.
Absolutely.
And was a friend, as I told you, of Roberto Ferrarini. Roberto Ferrarini is one of the most enologists in the Italian world. Like my father, he passed away a couple of years ago. So they left us a very innovative dry facility center, and actually a lot of curiosity in terms of innovation in the appassimento system.
Yeah, he was I had the great pleasure of meeting Franco on several occasions here in the UK for wine tastings, and also in Valpolicella, and a great man. You should be, I'm sure you're very proud of his achievements.
Really? My father went to UK?
Yeah, once, I
Yeah.
think. Well, he didn't like, he usually left that to Marilisa.
Okay. You know, my father don't like so much,
No.
didn't like so much to travel, you know, outside of, not Italy, but Fumane.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then, of course, the winemaking. So after the dry process, we bring the grapes into the winery. And so we soft pressing it, so we vinified it. The wine ferments in steel tanks, and then aged in new barrique for about 18 months, and in large barrels for 7 months, just to homogenize the wines, and then bottle aged for about 14 months. We use French barrique, medium toasted. In the past, we used to work with heavy toasted, but since 2010, we switch the barrique in medium toasted. Yeah, we prefer it in terms of balance now.
Yeah. Is that a pattern that's happening across the region, Francesco?
What? Sorry?
Is that a pattern that's happening across the region, the change of the oak?
Oh, yes. It's not a common process. Usually each winery have its system.
Yes.
We made a lot of experiment with booths, and in 2010 we decided to switch from heavy to medium.
Yes.
Because also we would like to change a little bit in our style. As you know, probably in 90s and at the beginning of 2000, the Amarone style or the perception of the Amarone was a very strong wine with a lot of concentration and heavy oak. So we try to change a little bit the rule in order to produce an elegant Amarone, okay, with easy drinkable, also in the new vintage. Absolutely,
and you're achieving that for sure. I think Allegrini is always one of the more elegant Amarones on the market.
Yeah, I hope so. You know, now we produce with Allegrini 2 Amarone, of course, the Amarone Classico, and then the Amarone Firamonte, our Riserva. Now we have on market our 4th vintage, which is 2016.
Yes.
I have to say, Amarone is, for me, before I joined the wine trade, so we're talking back in the 1980s, I went out to a restaurant with a friend who said, "You're never going to believe this wine." And so he got a bottle of Amarone in a restaurant, and it was just mind-blowing for me, who'd only been drinking as a student, all of a sudden coming into real wine. And the first wine, it was my Damascene moment on the road to Damasco. It was the moment that got me into wine trade. So the reason I'm sitting here tonight is because of a bottle of Amarone de Valpolicella.
Okay, that's good. You know, now the problem that is we don't drink so much Amarone. I mean, in Italy, so Amarone now is the export wine. So we try to create a new style of Amarone since 2010 and before, of course, in order to reach, of course, the Italian people. And for me, it is very important.
Yes, absolutely.
So
And then, yeah.
we have a style of wine, of course, specific to the Wine Society this year. And I know some people have it open now and are tasting it. And as we said, we have it here too.
Salute.
Yeah, cheers. Absolutely. Salute. But maybe we can talk a little bit about this, because this was a project that was long in the making.
Yes, so finally, we arrive at the protagonist of the night. So we have had a close collaboration with the Wine Society since 2012. And of course, to commemorate its 150th anniversary, the Wine Society has launched a new and exclusive and exceptionally special range of aged fine wines. And Allegrini had the honor of participating in this project. And tonight, of course, we present our Amarone dedicated to the Wine Society. The vintage, yes, the vintage is 2000.
I have to
Yes.
say, Francesco, we only approached you to even think about making this, so the privilege was definitely ours that you said yes. But we were
Okay.
very fortunate that that we were very keen to work with you on your given your style, and we wanted to come up with something that would be very elegant for members and drinking perfectly in 2024, which hopefully, if those members who've got a bottle open of this 2018. I do, and I'm perhaps a little biased, but I think it is starting to drink pretty perfectly now. But but do, Francesco, you tell us a little bit more about the blend and the wine.
Yes, of course. So for Amarone della Valpolicella 2018, the varieties are Corvina, Corvinone, Rondinella, and a little bit of Oseleta, as I told you before. The vintage 2018 was a very strange vintage. We have a lot of rain in spring times, and the temperature was very high in summertime. Fortunately, the harvest time was good, so it allows us to create and to harvest in a very good time and in a good way, of course. So the 2018 is an intense and inviting ruby red. Of course, we may feel a hint of cherries and pepper, and of course, officinal herbs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And as I told you, we would like to create a modern style of Amarone, and with the very, I mean, in elegant wine, a lot of balsamic note, especially officinal herbs, and of course, a wine that you may finish during your dinner, for example.
Yes.
Well, I would certainly finish it, whether during dinner or not. But can you maybe explain, Francesco, what each of the grape varieties brings to the blend?
Yes, of course. So Corvina and Corvinone. Actually, we prefer to use Corvinone for the dried wine, but Corvina give to the Amarone, of course, the flavors. Okay, so the cherries and the officinal herbs note.
Mhm.
And Rondinella actually don't give so much, but we have to use it because it's obligatory for our appellation, but it's fine, of course, for the color. And Oseleta is very important for the structure because give a lot of tannins and colors as well.
And when you were talking about harvest in 2018 being pretty good, when was harvest? What sort of time of year were you talking?
Yes, so in 2018, because the summer was very warm, we
Yes.
started a little bit earlier. So it
Yes.
was the first week of September.
Okay.
Now, for example, we harvest in the middle of September, and so caused of that temperature, we needed to harvest a little bit in advance before the common time.
And I think it shows in the freshness that you've managed to maintain in the wine, because this often we think of Amarone as being quite a powerful wine that is quite rich and can be a little bit fuller than this, or sweeter, or and can be a little bit tiring. Whereas this wine has this freshness and acidity that is really coming through, and it has all of the concentration that you'd expect from dried grapes, but it still seems to have great balance.
Yeah, but you know, as I told you, in the mind of the people, Amarone, especially in the past, was a heavy wine with a lot of concentration and high in sugar as well. So we have to produce and to try to explain that Amarone is a bitter wine, because Amarone in Italian means bitter.
Yes.
Yeah, but with a lot of acidity and balance in sugar as well. And that is the point, because Amarone has to be a wine that we may drink with a lot of courses.
Yes.
Not just with meat, juicy meat, or matured cheese, for example.
No, it's much more versatile in this style. Yeah.
I think one of the things that hits me, we're talking about the heavy, sweeter, oakier styles of Amarone. So I was just looking at the alcohol on the bottle, and I was thinking, maybe it's a little, because it feels so much lighter. And then you're looking at the alcohol, and suddenly you realize it's still 15.5% of alcohol in there, but the balance is just extraordinary because you don't feel it.
We try to not go over of 16 in alcohol. And we try to be 15.5, that at this time, because the climate change is very, very difficult.
Maybe you need to go higher up the mountain still.
Yes, actually, we harvest the grapes of Amarone are located in the Villa Cavarena vineyards. And so we reach 500 meters above sea level, and it is very important now.
Yeah.
Certainly something that we're looking at. Members will know that we're looking very much at the sustainability side of things as well. The wine's got to be good and it's got to taste good, but obviously we still want wine to be around here in 10, 20, 50, 100 years. And we need to be, and you guys, the people who make the wine, have to be sort of pioneers, if you like. You Allegrini have always been innovative in what they do. And I think it's going to be in the next few years, you're going to have to be very, very innovative indeed to keep up with climate change.
Yeah, it is a very difficult problem, because you have to imagine that, for example, in the flat area, the difference in temperature is warm than 1 degree and 1.5, and it is very important. And when we go up into the hills, we have a maturation came from light, not from warm. So we have a phenolic maturation, and in this way, we try to reduce the concentration of sugar, of course. And it is very important to reduce the alcohol and to preserve the acidity and, of course, the flavors.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right. I'm just going to restart the presentation, because with what we've been talking about there's just a little bit of extra after the wine that we've been talking about, and that was your sustainability. So maybe you'd like to tell us a little bit, because this is very much at the forefront of our mind at the Wine Society, and seeing the words biodiversity and sustainability is something that's very much dear to our hearts.
Yeah, actually, sustainability of Allegrini started more than 10 years ago. Probably was 2008 or 2009. At the time, a photographer came to my father and asked him to take a photo album of the wildlife in our vineyards. Okay, so my father was not so much interested in, but after was 5 months when the photographer came back and gave to my father the photo, and we saw how many animals and insects lives in our vineyards was a kind of surprise. And so from that time, we started to create a huge system in terms of sustainability. Started, of course, from our vineyards. So now, sustainability is one of our main characters, and sustainability is integral to Allegri's viticulture philosophy, leading the company to monitor supply chain, quality, and improve environmental. And regards to sustainability, now we have 3 certifications. So we have Equalitas, Biodiversity Friend, and from 2023, we have also beekeeping certification. So Equalitas promote sustainability in agri-food and wine supply chains. Biodiversity promotes sustainability agriculture in the territory and community preservation. And beekeeping, I think it is very important because the bee is one of the characters in terms of quality of the sustainability. So we implement herbicide-free methods and natural fertilizers and water-saving technique. So we practice a very huge works in vineyards. I mean, manual works. So we spend a lot of money to works in our vineyards, but I think is the first characters for the quality in terms of production.
No, it's wonderful to not only be actively working on your sustainability so clearly, but also to get it certified. It's wonderful because it gives everybody the confidence to be able to really talk about it loudly and for us to promote it. But I love the beekeeping certification. That's quite new to me. But it's so important.
A quite new certification because the first one was Equalitas was born probably was 5 years ago, but before we didn't have a certification recognized all around. So we started with Equalitas, and now we have a lot of certification in terms of sustainability.
Yeah. And have you seen that with the inroads you're making into sustainability and biodiversity, that you've also seen an improvement in the grapes?
Yes, of course.
Actually, what a bonus!
No. Actually, we try, for example, to save the waters, and also, for example, when we need to use water in vineyards, of course we count it.
Yes.
Yeah, per each year, and we try to, for example, of course, for the herbicide that now we are herbicide free, we try to use warm water.
Okay.
So we have a lot of experiment in vineyards to try to of course create a certain innovation in terms of sustainability.
It would be fantastic to invite the photographer back to see how you have very many more species in your vineyards.
But we have a photo book, and of course it's a pleasure to show you or to send you some numbers, of course.
I'm sure it's beautiful. It's always wonderful when you can see the physical difference. So suddenly when you see owls returning to your vineyard, or different species of birds or different insects, It's wonderful to see that kind of complex environment.
Yes, you know, we were surprised when we saw a lot of birds and insects that are living in. So it's wonderful to know that we respect a lot the ambient
Yes.
where we live, of course.
You've got to make sure, of course, that they're the correct birds that like eating insects, but not like eating grapes, right?
Yeah, I hope so. You know, sometimes we have this kind of problem, of course.
Sometimes biodiversity can be problematic. I imagine you have a few cingale or wild boar.
Yeah, now it's a very huge problem.
Yeah.
We try to protect the space in some way, but it is very, very difficult. For example, in the area of La Grola, last week, we found more than 30 wild boars. Yeah.
No.
Yes, very huge
Oh my
problem.
goodness.
And they, okay, now of course it's not a problem, but they eat the grapes, of course.
And can damage the vines and the rows and
They love it. Yeah, everything around the vineyards.
The irony that they don't know about, of course, is that Amarone goes very well with wild boar when it is.
Yes, why not? It's a very good pairing.
Yes. No. Oh, well, thank you for going through that, Francesco. That was wonderful. I wonder if we had any questions from our members. I saw one earlier coming up around Recioto. They'd not come across the style before. And although it has been explained within the chat as being a little bit more sweet and a little more concentrated, do you want to tell us a little bit about your Recioto?
Yes, so the Recioto is the real wine of the Valpolicella region. You know, we have a story that a farmer forgot in the barrels the Amarone, of course, at the time, so started a new fermentation, and the wine became from bitter sweet. So the process of the Recioto is the same of the Amarone. So we have to dry the grapes more, of course, in terms of time of the Amarone, in order to reach a better sugar concentration. And the fermentation is interrupted prematurely, so the sugar is not transformed at all in alcohol. So for the Recioto, we use Corvina, Corvinone, Rondinella, and Oseleta, so the same variety of the Amarone. But of course, in terms of sugar, gram per liter, we have 130 gram per liters. Yeah,
Yes.
compared to the Amarone, that the concentration is very different.
A little bit more similar for members who may have had port style wines before, that sort of sweetness, but without the alcohol.
Yeah, without we don't allow to add any alcohol, of course.
Yes. No. And then we also touched on wild boar being a good match potentially for Amarone. But what else would you think for this Amarone, the 150th? We were talking about the food. What do you think this would best go with?
Yeah, for me, I like to drink Amarone with juicy meat, as I told you before. But for example, with first courses, for example, lasagna with wild boar is perfect. We may drink Amarone also with game and matured cheese.
Yeah, no, wonderful. I often have it with lamb as well. I think that there's sometimes the sweetness of the sauce that you often have with lamb in the UK, so red currant jelly or cranberry sauce, sometimes needs a little sweetness in the wine as well. So it can be a good match if people are having slightly English style roasted lamb.
So we've got a question here about how long would you suggest opening a bottle of Amarone before consuming? Now, for me, that sort of question, for me, if you open it, only a very little bit of the wine is going to stay in contact with the air, so it's not going to make a lot of difference. But would you decant the wine, and would you decant it maybe half an hour before, or an hour, or 2 hours before? What would you do?
So with the new vintage, I think is not necessary to decant the wine. I prefer to decant with old vintage. And of course, I recommend to drink Amarone after 7-8 years after the harvest, because probably reach the better condition in terms of quality. And in terms of aging, probably I would like to say that Allegrini guarantee a wine that can dure during more than 20 years.
Yeah.
I hope so.
How long do you think this Amarone will continue to age for? So 2018, it's looking delicious now, but
yeah.
so another 10 years?
Yes, you know, was a warm season, especially in summertime. So probably is a wine that can during a lot in time, but not so much.
Yeah.
So on average, probably 20 years, I hope so.
Yeah.
But you know, my father told me that after 10 years, we drink a good bottle, not a good wine. Because sometimes happen that, we have some problems after 10 years caused from the cork, of course.
Yes, and storage conditions, and
yeah,
I think I'm with your father. I like to drink wine a little younger, perhaps, to make sure that you don't have any problems of aging that could come. We have had another question from the chat about this wine in particular, and whether or not it's a unique bottling. And I can answer that yes, it is. It's entirely a unique blend that we were very fortunate that Allegrini put together for us in quite difficult circumstances. This wine was being blended for us whilst we were all in lockdown. And so I was on Zoom a lot during the period, but we were sending samples to and from each other and tasting different wines from my flat in lockdown.
Okay.
But it was a unique blend that was put together especially for this bottling.
Okay, thank you.
No, it was wonderful.
So there's another question here about when the Amarone is going to be available. Actually, it is available now. It's on the website. It costs £35 a bottle, and if you want to type in the code IT33261, then you'll find that it's there on the website and available. And while we're talking about the different bottling, the unique bottling, there's a question: in what way, coming from Mark, in what way is it different to the regular bottling? Is it the blend? Is it the aging?
It's the blend.
Yeah.
And yes, so this was a blend of two different wines that are more commonly made at Allegrini. And we were able to look at different proportions of those wines. So looking at the Corteggiaia, but also...
Yes, of course. We have also, of course, Allegrini is the main brand, but in 1989 was born also Corteggiara, and Corteggiara is named after the rural courtyard in Fumane, where the 7th generation of the Allegrini family still lives. And in the past, we rent the vineyards. We rented the vineyards, or we bought directly the grapes from the farmer. But since 2013, we bought a plot in enlarged Valpolicella in the village of Lavagno di Mezzane, quite close from Soave. So we started to follow directly the production chain. So I think we increase a lot the quality of the Corteggiara wines.
Yes. And I think being able to look at various wines that you had available and being able to make a blend also enabled us to get this particularly good price point for members. So to have something that's so approachable now and offers such good value was something that was also important that we took into account when we were making the blend, because we wanted to make sure that this wine was something that members could really enjoy by the case, not just by the bottle.
Yeah, of course. and remember, Corteggiara and Allegrini are different also because the area. Allegrini is in the Classica area, so on the bottle you see Valpolicella, Amarone della Valpolicella Classico,
Yes.
and in the Corteggiara Amarone, for example, you see Amarone DOCC.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. We have a member asking another question here. Stephen's son is getting married in 3 months' time. And so he wants to know whether the Amarone would be a suitable match with barbecued tomahawk steak. I suspect the answer is yes.
That is perfect. But during a wedding party, you may drink Amarone, I think from the morning to the night. So no problem during the wedding party. But yes, it is perfect with the barbecue meat, of course.
Especially such a good cut.
Yes, yes.
Fantastic.
Medium rare, of course.
Oh, definitely medium rare or even rare.
Or rare, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Not overcooked, definitely. Okay. Well, Francesco, I wanted to say a huge thank you to you for presenting this evening and talking to us, talking to our members. It's great. We've had a good number of members on, and the nice thing to see is that they've all stayed on. Sometimes we see the numbers going up and down, but we've had a good number of members, and it's been constant all the way through. This will be available recording for anybody who wants to go back onto any of the facts and find out what we said, or if you missed anything, by all means do. I'll be sending out an email shortly with that link on to everybody. But Francesco, thank you.
Oh, thank you. And I will share with you my email and the email of our hospitality. And please come to visit us. And no problem. We will guest you, of course. And thank you for the night.
That's great. Thank you
really
very much,
kind.
Francesco. Ciao, ci vediamo.
Ciao. Ciao.
Look forward to seeing you in Italy soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Ciao.